Chestnut Hill Technologies is a leading technology integration and cybersecurity consulting firm based in the Boston area and owned by Boston College alum. CHT provides world-class strategy and consulting to Fortune 500 and mid-cap firms throughout New England and nationally, including State Street Bank, Fidelity Investments, Whaley Computer Associates, and Amgen Pharma. Check them out at chestnuthilltechnologies.com. That's chestnuthilltechnologies.com. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back once again to the Lights, Camera, Sports podcast presented by Chestnut Hill Technologies. I'm your host, Mike Gualtieri, and we're so lucky enough to be joined by David Borges. You know him, Hearst, Connecticut newspapers down in Connecticut. He covers UConn. He also has a new book that he just wrote we'll get to, but also has connections and ties as he knows Luke Murray very well from his coverage at UConn, as of course Luke has been the new head coach for Boston College men's basketball. Okay, with that, we welcome in David. David, first of all, thank you so much for the time. UConn beat writer for the Connecticut Insider, Hearst newspapers. Thank you, David. Welcome.
Yeah, no problem. Good to be here.
Awesome. So I always like to learn about the guests. Dave, I know you went to URI. You were in Pawtucket for a little bit covering the Red Sox. How did you transition from Rhode Island to Connecticut?
Well, I was actually covering the Boston Red Sox. I had covered the Paw Sox before that, but covering that for 3 years for a chain that owned papers in Rhode Island, Southeastern Mass, and Connecticut, including the New Haven Register. And when that chain changed ownership, I saw the writing on the wall that my position might no longer be carried on, continued. So I contacted the Register, and they needed a UConn beat writer, and I made the transition right over there right away and started that in 2007, and I've been covering the Huskies ever since.
Wow. So you've seen it all from Jim Calhoun, Kevin Ollie. Let me ask you a question. Between those three head coaches, Jim Calhoun, Kevin Ollie, Dan Hurley, which one to you, I guess, I was going to ask who's the most intense one, but I don't know. Who is the most intense coach over the years, you think, for UConn men's basketball?
Well, I caught Jim Calhoun in kind of the later years. He was a little bit of kinder, gentler. Still had some blow-ups with the media here and there and things like that. And, I'd have to say Dan Hurley, just in his intensity on the sideline. I mean, Calhoun was nuts too, but Dan's kind of nonstop on the sidelines during games. Now, he's not – apparently, and his practices are really tough too, although media is not allowed in there, so we don't get to see the practices. But he's pretty good. He's very good with the media. There's not too many blow-ups like that. But I'd say just game face, game time, I'd give Hurley the slight edge over Calhoun from what I saw.
Yeah. Okay, David, you were Connecticut Sports Writer of the Year in 2019, and now you have a new book, UConn Men's Basketball, an Illustrated Timeline. You can pre-order now, and you mentioned it's going to be released around June 15th, just in time for Father's Day. How did that all come together for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was presented with the opportunity by Reedy Press to do a book. They have a number of other books that have been done on professional teams. I believe there's also one coming out on Duke this year.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I don't know how popular that will be around these parts, but they've done them on the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Kansas City Royals, a lot of different teams, Chicago Bulls. So they asked me to do this, and it just made so much sense because the UConn fan base is so vast and such a popular program, and the history is so incredible. And this is really literally an illustrated timeline going back to the very beginning of the program in the early 20th century through all the crazy times, the championships, the Final Fours, the great players, the great coaches, all that. So that's kind of how it came about.
Very, very cool. And you see the graphic right there about it. What can fans expect to see within the pages?
Yeah, it's really a pictorial, kind of almost like a coffee table type of book.
Gotcha.
With images from, again, going back to the very beginning of the program, with little vignettes written about each picture, written by me. And, obviously we don't spend a whole lot of time in the black and white pre-1960s or even pre-Big East times. But those are covered because there were some really good teams and players throughout the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s at UConn. But Obviously, a large bulk of it is basically the Calhoun era, 1986 onward, and championships and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the gist of it.
Yeah. Wow. What, in your opinion, Dave? What has been the biggest moment in UConn men's basketball from '86 on? Is it Tate George? Where do you go from there? Is it the 1999 title? Where do you think stuck out to you in your opinion?
I think the first title probably is the one. I mean, the 1990 Dream season with the Tate George shot and everything put them on the map, but they were perennially, they couldn't even get to the Final Four until 1999 when and Jim Calhoun was kind of getting a reputation as a guy who couldn't get over the hump. And They finally did that in '99. I'd say that probably was it, but there, as captured in this book, there are so many incredible moments and shots. The Tate George shot, but Kemba Walker's step back and Jalen Adams' 85-footer, and most recently we were able to sneak in at the deadline. We got Braylon Mullins 35 to beat Duke. So that really stood out the most to me. Just how many great moments and quite frankly, just great shots this program has had over the years.
Do you think that Braylon Mullins shot will be remembered 20 years from now, 30 years, like Tate George, or do you think it will fade because UConn didn't win the title this year?
No, I think it'll be right up there. It'll be remembered just like Tate's. I mean, Tate, obviously that year's team didn't win in 1990 either. Braylon's got them to the Final Four, beating Duke. Those two things right there are pretty big. I think that's the debate right now. Was Braylon's shot the biggest shot in UConn history? It's probably between that and Tate George. And I'm trying to figure that out myself, but I didn't see Tate George's, so I'll at least in person. So I'll go with Braylon for now.
There you go. Okay, so I'm interested. You started in 2007. How has your job changed from 2007 till now? Your coverage, your daily work. That was 2007. Was that pre-Twitter? I think it was pre-X. So how does that all work out for you? Your day-to-day job?
Yeah, those are the blog days when blogs were. I had a little blog that was. It was it got pretty good traffic, but it was really kind of an artifact now.
Early on, Stone Age.
Yeah, Stone Age time. It's just the way things have become so digitalized. Print is kind of secondary now. The deadlines now, we don't even get game stories in the paper, the next day's paper, unless it's a day game. It's all about print and getting traffic and Hearst Connecticut Media. We are absolutely dedicated to UConn, and we do a lot of UConn material, a lot of stuff. But by and large, it gets a lot of traffic. So that's what it is all about right now: digital and getting stuff out there and getting it on time and quickly.
In your time, what do you think has been the best UConn team you've seen? Obviously, I guess you weren't there in the Ben Gordon or Okafor era, but would that team beat that? What was the 23 UConn team? In your
23-24, 22-23. They were great. They kind of almost, I won't say came out of nowhere, but they had lost. They had a terrible January. They lost in the Big East tournament semifinals. Then they just rolled through March to win the title. Yes. But 2023-24 was, they were 37-3 overall. Again, dominated March, dominated the Big East tournament.
Was that the 30-0 run in Boston up here?
Yeah, 30-0 against Illinois. Yep.
I was there. I was like, oh my gosh.
It was just head spinning. It beat Zach Edey and Purdue in the championship game. Just beat everyone. That has to be the best team I've seen. Donovan Clingan and obviously Steph Castle now with the Spurs, both doing very well in the NBA. That was the best team I've seen of them in my 20 years or so of covering them.
And now I want to focus on Dan Hurley. You came in, you saw Kevin Ollie versus Dan Hurley. What was the biggest cultural change in the program with Dan Hurley and his staff? We'll get to in a second as well.
Yeah, Dan is just in another realm. I mean, the way he runs a program, it's hard to put into words because he's just every aspect of it. He's aware of, even the smallest things like even the social media accounts. And he makes sure those are done right. Every detail, the way he runs practices, the way he runs, even their media availabilities. the style of play, the type of players he brought in. Now, Kevin Ollie did a very good job. Obviously, he won a national title, and that can't be overlooked. And
people forget about that.
Came into a tough situation, but obviously, those last couple of years were embarrassing. I mean, I think his last year there were 8 losses of 20 points or more, which you just don't expect from a UConn program. Dan took over with a blueprint, and it's almost gone exactly the plan since he took over in 2018, and it's kind of crazy. In fact, it's going yearly by year. It's almost going according to plan. Now it's kind of surpassed that. I mean, no one expected 2 national titles in the first 6 years, especially back to back. So
3 out of 4.
Dan's brought just an entirely different cultural change to the program.
And then, I want to explore that. And we're going to talk about that in regards to Luke Murray too, though. But just detail-wise, is he just more? Is the 24-hour day mapped out for the players? Is that a big difference? Was it a little more loosey-goosey with Kevin Ollie, I guess?
Well, I think it became that way with Kevin Ollie. His last couple of years, things kind of lost control of the program a little bit. Kind of distractions, things like that. He had some personal things going on, so it's hard to say. But Dan, I mean, everything from down to he doesn't even, he trumpets the fact that it's an 11-month season, and it's true. They started workouts last week, and
June. Wow.
They're going to be as many programs have, but they're pretty much on campus, save for maybe the last 2 weeks of August, maybe a few days in July. They're there all summer, and then they're working all fall. Obviously, then the season comes, and even Christmas break, they get 3 days to go home, and that's what the NCAA mandates. And this guy's going home to Seattle, and they're basically flying out there saying Merry Christmas and flying back. So, but you can't argue with results, and the players love him and buy into it as well. So it's all worked out really well.
Okay, let's get to Luke Murray now, one of the assistants for UConn. Before I get to him, I want to play a quick message from Chestnut Hill Technologies, and we'll get right into Luke Murray.
Hill Technologies is a leading technology integration and cybersecurity consulting firm based in the Boston area and owned by Boston College alum. CHT provides world-class strategy and consulting to Fortune 500 and mid-cap firms throughout New England and nationally, including State Street Bank, Fidelity Investments, Whaley Computer Associates, and Amgen Pharma. Check them out at chestnuthilltechnologies.com. That's chestnuthilltechnologies.com.
Awesome. All right, Dave. Question: when did you meet Luke Murray? How did you what were your first impressions of him, as he's, of course, been named the head coach of BC men's basketball?
Yeah, I didn't know Luke at all until he was hired in 2021, I believe. Got to know him then, and got to know him a lot over the last 5 seasons. Really impressive guy. Great basketball mind. Obviously a famous family, but you'd never guess that. He's a pretty humble guy, and I think he's going to do a really good job at Boston College. But I've known Luke pretty well for about 5-6 years now.
Were you surprised BC was able to land him? A lot of people came up to me and said, "Oh, he can, he doesn't want to go to BC," or you think just a head coach position appealed to him?
Well, I think in a lot of ways it's the perfect spot for him, and he's the perfect hire for them. It's obviously a high major conference, the ACC. It's got a really good tradition over the years. Now, as I don't need to tell you, it's been struggling for a while now. No tournaments since 2009, I believe.
2009, yep.
So so there's nowhere to go but up, almost, right? And in the Boston media landscape, obviously not known as a great college sports town media wise. There won't be as much pressure. I think everything will be focused on the Patriots, Celtics, Red Sox, Bruins for the most part. So we can kind of quietly, under the radar a little bit, get this program going and get them better. It's probably going to take a few years. I think it'll be a similar blueprint that what Dan Hurley did. I think there's going to be a lot of similarities with Dan Hurley in terms of how he runs the program, the type of players he brings in, not so much talent-wise, but maybe personality-wise, the way he wants to recruit high school players a lot and use the portal to patch up needs. There's going to be a lot of similarities that way, but I think this is the perfect spot. And obviously, I think for Boston College to get a guy with national championship pedigree, who's still relatively young, who's ready for that, taking that next step as a head coach, I think it really was a great hire for them too.
And then I know from what you observed behind the scenes, what was his role with UConn? Was it purely scouting for the opponents? Was he more recruiting, in-game practices? Did you happen to, what did Luke Murray do under Dan Hurley?
Well, it's not quite, doesn't break down quite as simply as this guy does this guy does that. But Luke definitely was kind of in charge of the big men for one. He was sort of the big men coach. And he also, and he was, recruiting wise, he helped bring in guys like Donovan Clingan, Liam McNeely, Jalen Stewart from out in Seattle, Braylon Mullins, obviously the aforementioned was one of his guys, and some guys out of the portal that he brought in, really good guys. I think the one thing maybe that he's huge. He was their big. He's Mr. Analytics, and he really introduced that. I wouldn't say introduced it, but brought it to the forefront and over the top. I don't mean that in a bad way, over the top, but to the program. And he also really was one of the architects of UConn's offense, which has been which is a complex but highly successful, highly efficient offense that's been a key to their national title run. So running the offense, working with the big men, recruiting, analytics are some of the major things he did, but he did a lot of things at UConn.
And I want to get to that offense. In your mind, say a person who comes in, parachutes in, 2 or 3 sentences, or how would you, or 2 or 3 points, how would you describe that offense that UConn ran?
Well, again, complex. Teams, by and large, still haven't figured out how to stop it. Constantly moving, off screens, a lot of motion, but also very efficient and getting shooters their shots. But also, finding the big men when in down low, and the Donovan Klingons and Tarris Reed Juniors. Again, in a nutshell, highly efficient, very complex, and a shooter. Shooters would love to play in that offense.
Do you think it will rely a lot on threes, like we see up here at the Celtics? So in that regard, do you think it's a little more balanced attack?
Yeah, they'll rely on threes, no question. I don't know if anything's quite as the Celtics compared to the Celtics the way they do it, but actually there are, and I don't think it'll be quite so exaggerated. But they're big. I know he's big on the 3-pointers and dunks and layups are kind of the way to go. The mid range, I don't think he hates the mid range as much as a guy like listen to the guy at Alabama. His name is evading my mind, But yeah, he I think that they'll be a big time 3-point shooting team, no question.
And do you think it will translate that type of Big East offense into the ACC? Do you think it will translate across the board? Probably will.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, UConn,
because that's no problem in the NCAA tournament.
or any non-conference games. They've had the last 3 or 4 years. They've only had a couple of losses, and they've played some huge non-conference games on the road and neutral sites. So yeah, it's translated well out of conference, and I think it will do so in the ACC as well.
And then with Luke, did he have any? I know Tom Moore's involved with NIL in terms of budgeting. Was he doing any of that stuff, or was he more basketball centric with UConn?
I think he was more basketball centric, particularly the last couple of years when Tom Moore became the general manager.
Yeah.
But I think even before that, Tom was kind of taking care of that. So Luke, the thing with Luke is that while I mentioned before all the attributes, and I think he's a great hire, I think he'll do a really good job. Running a program is an entirely different thing.
Yes.
When you move that one or two seats over, and now you're in charge of everything.
You got to deal with people like us.
What's that?
He has to deal with people like us asking questions.
Well, yeah, the media, that's a part of it, and but just so much, boosters, donors, players, parents, travel. I mean, he has people booking travel and stuff like that, but just practice, scheduling practices, running practices, scheduling games, who's going to be in the, just so many things. That's something he hasn't done yet, and that'll be probably his biggest challenge.
Is he a intense yeller like a Dan Hurley is, or will BC fans see on the sidelines at Conti for him, you think?
I don't think he'll approach Dan Hurley levels. I don't think many will ever. I think he'll be a little more reserved. I mean, he can have a temper, no question about that. you didn't really see it as an assistant coach during games so much, but I think he'll be tough. He'll be tough on his players, but also good to his players, and he'll be intense on the sidelines. I don't think it'll be Dan Hurley levels, but Luke can yell when he has to.
And then last, defensively, what's the type of mindset there as well? Do you think they'll run?
Yeah, just again, what
a lot of
UConn
man-to-man, I assume.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, Dan Hurley's all about man-to-man. I think Luke's the same way. I think he loves the idea of having that big guy back there swatting shots as well. It kind of helps everyone, helps the guards and helps the forwards in their defense as well, having a kind of that safety valve back there. Yeah, I do think that the team, maybe not talent-wise, certainly at the start, but we'll have a similar look to what UConn's looked like the last few years.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, hey, just to wrap up Luke Murray, Dave, do you think 3-4 years from now we talk and check in with each other? Do you think he'll have success in Chestnut Hill?
Yeah, define success. I mean, obviously,
I think NCAA tournament for us. NCAA
yeah. I would say so. I mean, it's all about getting the right guys in. Again, the high school recruiting, hopefully that improves. Getting the right guys out of the portal and playing a very tough league. Who knows what the ACC will look like in a few years? But yeah, I think Luke's going to have some success with this program.
And it seems like the school is behind it as well. Increased budget for NIL. For revenue sharing.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
That's going to be key for us. Okay, David Borges, UConn's men's basketball illustrated timeline. Tell everyone how can they order it and the logistics behind that.
Well, you can still pre-order it on Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com or Reedy, REEDY Press.com. And it should be in stores in about a week and a half or so. And then I'll be doing a bunch of book signings and events in the ensuing month or two, and even into the fall and probably November. Yeah, it'll be available in stores in I would say about 2 weeks, but it's available for pre-order right now online.
Love it, Dave. That's awesome. How about you? Do you have any fun plans this summer before basketball gets going again?
Yeah, I'm going to take my son. It's been become an annual thing. We go to the baseball all-star game. It's down in Philly this year, so
nice.
That'll be fun. Yeah, it's cool. It's hot, but it's nice. And yeah, he's playing travel ball, and then my daughter's home from Penn State. We'll take her back. So yeah, nothing huge, but the all-star game, the MLB all-star game will be one of our highlights.
Awesome. Well, Dave, hey, we can't thank you enough for the time. UConn men's basketball, they're going to be right at it again next year. And then also, we appreciate your thoughts about Luke Murray. So I'd like to remind everybody, check it out. UConn's men's basketball, an illustrated timeline. You can pre-order now. It'll be out Amazon right around June 15th, Father's Day. David Borges, thank you so much for joining us here. We'll be following you, UConn beat writer, Connecticut's insider, and Hearst newspapers. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Hill Technologies is a leading technology integration and cybersecurity consulting firm based in the Boston area and owned by Boston College alum. CHT provides world-class strategy and consulting to Fortune 500 and mid-cap firms throughout New England and nationally, including State Street Bank, Fidelity Investments, Whaley Computer Associates, and Amgen Pharma. Check them out at ChestnutHillTechnologies.com. That's ChestnutHillTechnologies.com.